Welcome to Everyday Life. Thank you for joining our podcast, Conversations Over Coffee. My name is Jen.
And I'm Dagda.
And we're going to hit you with the explicit content warning right off the bat. This podcast does include adult situations and adult language from time to time.
I'm an angel. I never fucking cuss.
Okay. Anyways, you ready to go?
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's go.
I did see something kind of interesting a while back.
What's that?
They were talking about reintroducing beavers into different areas in the United States.
Okay.
And they found that by reintroducing beavers and basically having beavers create ponds or whatever.
Right. Their natural dams make the pond. Yeah.
They were not just reintroducing wetland, but they actually kind of, it's a weird thing. It kind of actually increased the amount of water in an area.
Yeah.
Which you would think, okay, a dam just holds water.
Right.
But what ends up happening is it creates the pond, and then the plants start uptaking the water. Yep. And then the water actually gets returned.
Yep.
At a certain point. Once trees get saturated with a certain amount of water,
yeah,
they'll actually start re-releasing it.
Right. And then you have the fact that when these plants start growing and they're getting bigger, it's another dew point collector.
Yeah.
So they're
and also shade. They're introducing more shade, which causes the less water to evaporate.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, beavers, it's good for lots of things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's interesting because of the fact that we have so many places that could really use some little bit beaver dams. It would be very beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
For not, there's food oases and there's food deserts.
Yeah.
So it's like if you can create some of these places where it could help encourage a food oasis,
mm-hmm.
because you have to have water to grow almost anything.
Yeah.
But I don't know. A lot of people are like, oh, it doesn't work that way. Yeah, it does. You can try and experiment by building your own terrarium. Make your own terrarium, mm-hmm. which is essentially what beavers do. Is they make an open air terrarium because they encourage plant life.
Mm-hmm.
The plants grow, provide the shade,
mm-hmm. and
they also, when they're doing that, as they get taller, a lot of times they lean over, so you have a natural catch for the whole recycle system.
Yeah,
but we shouldn't do smart things anymore.
I actually watched a video recently about basically having a pond in your backyard.
Right.
And then creating a sort of micro ecosystem where you have fish and water plants.
Yeah.
To basically create, essentially it's a permanent food source for yourself.
Yeah, of course.
It was kind of interesting.
It's a great thought. You just have to have enough space to do it.
Yeah, like my backyard, you wouldn't really be able to... Well, we could do it, mm-hmm. but we would have to remove the... I don't know what the fuck you call it. The patio thing that we have out in our backyard. Mm-hmm. Because we have a basically big cement slab with a fucking roof over it.
Yeah.
In our backyard that takes up, I don't know, like a third of the backyard.
Mm-hmm.
That would have to be completely removed.
Yeah.
And then put the pond there.
Yeah. Well, I know I had a customer over on the north end.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. Let me not confuse. I had two customers, same name. One was North End. One was actually Redacted Wood. Okay. So at Redacted Wood, they'd actually built a natural pond
mm-hmm.
with trout.
Yeah.
And so they were able to get 9 to 12 fresh trout a year out of it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's pretty interesting. So he actually showed me how he was able to do it on his property. So where he lives, they actually have like a natural culvert.
Okay.
And so all he did was, which was, out in front of his property. So he just dug the one end of it around and led it to his property that he created a pond in.
Mm.
And that's, so it just,
yeah.
I'm just like, what do you do when like the hawks and stuff come down in here? He was just like, that's why it's all graded over. And I'm like, oh my God, I just thought it was so you didn't accidentally drive into the ditch. No, it's so nobody can get his fucking fish. It's really cool. It was a really cool setup, honestly, because you got their backyard, they had their back deck, And then they had like, not a pool, but they had like a hot tub and like that kind of a setup there. And then they had their little pond, and I call it the retaining area, I think you would say. And it was really neat because it was probably 20 feet wide, 30 feet long, and then it headed down. So it gave...
That's actually really big.
It is really big. But the reason why he'd done it the way he did is because he was trying to emulate with having the fish have a different place to go swim to, which would be down around the property, and which was, you know, the culver's like 6 feet wide. And it's like 6 feet wide, 6 feet deep. Like, I'd never be able to get out of there if I fell down there without help. Honestly, you'd have to send me a ladder. But he did that because he wanted them to be able to emulate that swimming upstream to spawn.
Okay.
So he was giving them plenty of room. Anyways, it was neat. Pretty big fish.
Yeah.
I mean, for what they were.
Yeah, and they were talking about using crappie. Often, I guess it's often used in the Americas. It's usually like bluegill. Like bluegill and catfish.
Yeah, catfish I could see.
Because, well, first of all, both of them can survive as long as there's part of the water that isn't frozen. They can survive in frozen water. They were talking about tilapia too, but tilapia won't survive in most of North America during the winter because they're a tropical kind of fish.
Yeah.
But to have the two different types of fish, basically because they feed in different segments of the water.
Yeah.
And then
one's at the bottom, one's at mid and top.
Yeah. And then having like duckweed and like what are they called? Cattails and maybe some lily pads.
Yeah.
Growing in there. And then basically that just those things together creates enough of biodiversity so that there's a full fully functioning ecosystem within it, so you don't have to feed them or anything. Yeah. And once it might take a year or two, but as long as you don't overfish it, basically, it'll be constantly. Yeah. And they were saying that like what was it? It was like a 8x10 section of a pool that's like 4 feet deep. That can, at least this was what the video was saying, but it was an AI generated thing. It was saying that would typically generate like 300 pounds of food a year.
Yeah, that makes sense because, you know, like especially catfish after the second year, they can get up in that 10 to 15 pound range. Yeah. But if you mix your crops like that and you've got ones that are at the bottom feeding off the bottom and ones that are feeding off the top, then you can very easily mix 30 and 30. So you should very easily be able to do it. And what's really interesting is you can actually set it up to where you have constantly moving water. So you're not getting a massive quantity of without any electricity either. You can literally do it by creating a water wheel. And then you can actually make the crank be like a windsock. And so you get the airflow, just enough airflow from the windsock. But a lot of times once you get a water wheel started, it'll just keep going. But, you know, all kinds of different ways to be more efficient, which, you know, we talked about a few episodes ago, we talked about knowing your garden, like know your garden. Yeah. And why. And it is becoming about being more self-sufficient. It's like, I don't know what people are going to do during the apocalypse. Like McDonald's. Stop. I didn't realize it would actually pick that up.
The fuck are you talking about? You're knocking on the goddamn microphone.
Well, I always feel like it's not very loud.
Here, put on the fucking headphones and let me do that.
No, I can't. I haven't cleaned my ears today. No.
Any fucking way.
But I always feel like when it comes to the apocalypse, there's still going to be these people that are going to pull up to McDonald's and be like, I need food help. You know, and I'm just thinking, you know, it'd probably be really smart during the apocalypse if somebody were to take over a McDonald's. And people could drive through and I'll trade you food. Like, I mean, yeah, maybe it'd be a possum burger, but whatever.
Opossum burger.
Yeah. But think about it. So
I'd rather eat an opossum burger than an impossible burger.
Well, think about it. McDonald's are generally big enough. You could take that play area that they got for most of the kids. You could turn that into your pond. And you literally think about that.
Yeah.
There's enough room there. But yeah, I don't know. I worry for the next generation, honestly. I worry for some of them.
Yeah, they'll have AI.
I had a person at work the other day, and they were like, what am I doing today? And I'm like, well, this is the game plan. Okay, cool. I'll go clock on. No, you won't. What? You just told me I could. No. I'm telling you what our game plan is. It's not time for you to clock on. But it wasn't like somebody just being like, okay, I got to work. We're all heading in the back. I'm just going to do it. It was literally, it's not like your situation you were talking about. Yeah. It literally was somebody trying to get, like, apparently they know this whole big thing that I didn't know about how the time rolls over in the company.
Yeah.
And I was just like, no, I'm not the one and we're not the two. It's not happening. So I kind of worry about that because I was told by this individual that they need to, I'll show you, they're not going to be able to see it, but I'll show you. I need to work more time so that I can teach myself testicular fortitude with having a job. Shaking their hands like that.
Okay.
And that's how they ended it too. Okay. I don't know. Anyways, so are you thinking about building a pond?
No, because I'd have to fucking tear out all that shit, like I said.
You know, you actually could do an above ground pond. There's a lot of, like, there's a YouTuber guy who has, like, above ground pools and stuff that he uses for different kind of fish breeding.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is the
more beneficial.
No. What I'm saying is because of the layout of my property, that thing is taking up almost all of the available space.
Yeah.
In the backyard. So in order to have a decent sized pond, I would basically have to tear that thing down
to get all the benefits of having a pond. Okay,
yes.
Yeah.
Even if it's an above ground one, or I'd have to just tear the roof off of it, which would make the whole fucking thing pointless. So I'd have to fucking tear out the rest of it anyway. Right?
Yeah.
So
fair.
Because the way it's situated, it's too far away from the house to put a pond in between it and the house.
Right.
And it's too close to the far fence to put a pond of that size between it and the edge of my property. Yeah. So it's just right in the fuck you spot. The only thing that I could do that would be of use for using that patio thing would be to put solar panels on top of it. That would be the most useful thing that I could do and keep it there.
Yeah.
Other than that, there's not really anything that can be done with it unless you just straight up remove it.
Yeah. I'm kind of honestly surprised you guys haven't got solar panels because in our city, isn't it where you can sell the extra energy back that you earn?
Yes.
So I'm really surprised you guys haven't got solar panels at this point.
There's reasons, but I won't get into it on here.
Nope, fair. That's completely all right.
Yeah. Because I was talking with Sean about it. I was like, we should do this because, also at the time that I mentioned it, there was city, state, as well as federal funds for putting in solar
panels. Mm-hmm.
But then he brought up some stuff and I was like, oh, well, okay, fuck.
I mean, it's just a known fact that one of our main energy producers here sells shit down to California. So
yeah, I think we sell energy to fucking Idaho and fucking Canada as well.
I wouldn't be surprised. Honestly, I my partner says last night, I wish I could just get rid of that internet. I wish it was never go away. And I said, it would forever go away. And I said, I said, at this point, I don't have Wikipedia downloaded. So I'd be really mad if I couldn't go read my Wikipedia.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think because there are things that he didn't learn growing up from one of his parents that he still wants to learn, I think he would be just screwing himself.
Yeah.
The internet at this point it's
so fucking useful. It's
not just useful. It's so imperative that people have it because there's so many people who have agoraphobia. They're stuck in their houses. Mm-hmm. There's so many people who have debilitating diseases that aren't able to get out and socialize, but they can go online and they can socialize. They can do it on Xbox. They can do it on PlayStation. They can do it on Steam. They can do it and they can get onto Discord. and they can join a conversation. On Discord, you can even have video chat going on.
Yeah.
So it's such a necessary thing to have for people to not lose contact with the world.
Yeah. Part of me, though, is like it's enabling stuff like that also. So it's a catch-22.
Yeah.
Is it worse because of the internet, or is it just alleviating stuff? Because it's hard to tell. You can't really I can't think off the top of my head of a way to do a study that would determine whether those sorts of things are made worse because the internet enables people to live in that way, or if it's simply because there's so many more people than what there was when we were growing up,
right?
That there's more people with those disabilities or whatever you want to refer to it as.
Limited abilities.
And also the internet has allowed people to find other people with weird predilections or whatever. And so they're gathering and people are more aware of a bunch of weird stuff, basically. And so it's kind of a catch-22.
On the one hand, the really psycho weirdos can gather.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, the normal weirdos can gather.
Yeah.
And I think if there was a study done, it would end up being a wash, because I think you're going to end up with that percentage of people that are going to be in these chats and really enjoy these, gaming exchanges or conversational exchanges, like people who are stuck in the house, bedbound, whatever. Mm-hmm. And they're having all this. And I think it would literally be a wash, whether those people would be encouraged to go outside, or it just encourages them to stay in. Like, would they sit there and go, oh, well, I can find other friends even if I don't have as much in common with them. I think that's going to be a percentage of them. And then I think the other percentage of them is going to be like, wait, John, where are you going? We're having so much fun. Hey, dude, I got to get out. I got to go ride my e-bike. I'm going to go mountain hiking. Like, you only live 6 blocks away. Why don't you put hiking boots on to go? So I think it would be a wash.
Yeah. Well, also, we do know that things like the news promotes certain things.
Right.
Even if they're negative things. Like, for instance, when we were kids, there was a big epidemic of, the word has evaded my brain for the moment. Bulimia. And what was the other one? So the
anorexia nervosa.
Yeah. Anorexia and bulimia. There was an epidemic of it, and part of it was directly related to the news reporting it, which actually caused it to spread faster.
Yeah.
And the same sort of stuff with like school shooting, stuff like that. We didn't have those 40, 50 years ago. And yet there were more guns at school than what there are now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So it's kind of 6 to 1, half a dozen the other one, where like more people are aware of it, which means it gives more people the idea to do it.
Yeah.
And so there's some of that going on. Plus there's more people, just period, which means it's going to happen more often also.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to delineate those things, right?
Yeah.
It's the cause and the effect. Some of it is, of course, related to exposure.
Yeah.
But some of it would happen even without exposure.
Yeah. I mean, it's insane because all of the stuff that we hear about on the internet, we see on the internet, a lot of it has been happening, obviously, throughout time.
Yeah, forever. Yeah.
Forever. And it's all been happening. It's how aware we are of it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and sometimes you hear about like one school shooting after another, and it's like some dumbass in Florida went, well, they did it in California, so I'm going to do it, or whatever.
Yeah.
And you would have thought, now I remember in the 90s, there was the first one that I really remember was the Columbine, Colorado. And that was in the early mid 90s, I think, because it was part of our generation. Like, I think I was just getting ready to graduate high school, maybe, or I had just graduated.
Yeah, I think I'd already graduated when it happened.
Like, yeah, I wasn't too, I wasn't.
I think I was in the Army when it happened.
But that was in the 90s. And what's really interesting is that I remember seeing that and I felt so overwhelmingly sad for those kids because I'm just like, and I hate to sound so cliche with, you know, kids bully kids, kids pick on kids for something to do. Kids find it funny. I don't know why, because when it happens to them, then they go all psychotic, but some people can't handle it. And I think when you look at the entire story, you know, you thought you would have thought people to learn like, oh, this did not end well for them. They didn't get their vengeance. They didn't get any revenge. All they did was hurt people and die. And they didn't, you know, I don't think that was their original purpose. I think one of them did want to die. He wanted to commit suicide. The other one didn't. But it's so insane to me that we have these issues where now everybody's more aware of, hey, Peter does it. Paul does it. You know, Peanut, everybody, you know, and it's just like, it's scary because you do get that dark web. You do get that subculture of people who are going, well, if they did it in the UK, we can do it here in Ireland or like whatever. I'm not saying y'all are like that. All I know is that UK, man, I do not want to fight anybody from the UK. They don't have guns like we do, but they will cut a bitch. They will mess you up faster than you can draw your firearm.
Now you're not allowed to have a pocket knife in England.
It's insane.
So Columbine happened in 1999.
I just remember being so sad. And for years and years, and even last year and the year before, for years and years, I would plant Sweet William. It's a Columbine flower called the Columbine flower. And Sweet William was the one that I would do. Just because I felt so bad for those kids because they never even had an opportunity to live. You know, and that's the reality of, you would think with the internet, it would letting us see more of the wrong things happening in the world. You think it would teach people like maybe doing something better would be good. Maybe doing something right would be good. But it's, of course, it's Pareto's law.
Pareto's law? Yeah.
Pareto's law, yes.
Yeah, I mean, you're just as likely to inspire somebody to do wrong as you are to inspire somebody to do right.
Yeah.
So just human nature being what it is, fucked up people are going to do fucked up stuff.
Yeah. That's the thing that's bizarre to me, is if you show the news, if you show the original footage to an entire high school, let's say an average of 800 people in a high school, 1,000 people, just to make numbers easier.
Yeah.
It's really scary if you go with Pareto's law, which is applicable to pretty much anything. Yeah, sometimes it's 70-30, sometimes it's 93-7, whatever.
Yeah.
But even if you go at the very far end of the spectrum and say it would be 93-7, there would still be 70 people who'd be like, that fucked up shit looks fun to me.
Yeah.
That is scary ass numbers. These are the people that are supposed to be our future.
Yeah.
It's scary as shit to me.
One kind of interesting thing that is currently happening, well, it's probably not actually currently happening, but it's on the cusp of happening, is because of the combination of AI and our continuing expertise in genetics, let's say. Let's call it that. There are certain genetic markers that are being discovered. Like, for instance, there's one referred to as the warrior gene.
Okay.
And it's a particular genetic marker that's on the X chromosome that if you have this, if you have a single one of it, because you can have two, if you have a single one of this, if you experience trauma in your childhood, you're way, 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 way more likely to become violent.
Okay.
And do to the extreme, like stabbing and shooting people, literally stabbing and shooting people. You're like ridiculously more likely to become a murderer or get into attempted murder situations.
And have they linked it to where they've figured out that it's because it's causing a genetic hyper focus on anger, or genetically like their empathy button's turned way down? Or
I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't remember exactly what it was. It's just that if you have this particular subversion of the gene, then you're way more likely to actually kill people. And then if you have 2 copies of it, because you can have 2 copies of it.
Sure.
And that's if you were exposed to violence as a child. In other words, you were abused as a child. Yeah. You're fucking exponentially more likely. But if you have 2 copies of it, even without exposure, you're exponentially more likely to become violent as an adult or teenager.
And the thing about it, my curious question for this, and it's not funny, but my curious question for this is, so we're discovering these markers. There are commonalities in all of these people who do these things. But, wow, that came from nowhere.
No, it came from your gut.
Are they... That came from my gut.
So there.
Right, so there. Are they actually finding when they do this study, are there people who are predispositioned to these acts of violence or this higher acts of violence that don't have that? So, but are they saying everybody with this marker, when they did the testing, they either have this history of violence or they answered the questions like they were doing the personality test, like, I'm going to fuck somebody up?
So my assumption is that it happened in reverse, where they took a bunch of violent criminals
and did genetics testing.
And then genetic testing and found that most of them have this. Also, there was another study where they had a bunch of, basically they took violent criminals and they tested them and they found that the majority of them had another thing going on where either there were three minerals that we require as humans.
Right.
It was nickel, copper, and something else. Zinc, I think.
Okay.
Anyway, the overwhelming majority of the people who were violent criminals in prison either had too much of at least one of those 3 or not enough.
Yeah, so their mineral, their body's resting mineral was imbalanced.
Yes. And when they put them on regimens to either increase or decrease, depending upon what they needed
to balance it out,
they became much more calm and much less likely to for violent outbursts.
Yeah.
So there was that also. I don't know if that is related to this gene or not.
Right.
Because it could be 2 completely different factors going on.
Right.
But yeah, when they treated the people, they became much more reasonable to deal with.
Yeah.
And like one of them actually, their family was like, yeah, he's a completely different person like when he was a kid.
Yeah.
Until he stopped taking it, and then he fucking became an asshole again.
And it honestly is a very scary, if you think about it in a big world picture sort of thing, it's a very scary thing that somebody who could be mineral deficient just due to their financial circumstances could end up having a propensity for violence, acts of rage, or YOLO-isms. Yeah. And I don't mean YOLO in the good way, like we're going to celebrate and party tonight. I mean like YOLO.
Also, lead is another one. If you start getting into low-level lead poisoning, you actually become more violent.
Oh, yes.
And when I learned that, it was very interesting because, like, Vietnam and all the fucking shit that was going on in the United States during that time, that was all during the time when lead was being added to our fuel.
Right.
There was another...
And our paint in our bedrooms, in our nurseries.
Yeah. So it would be interesting. You can't really fucking find this out because you can't test it.
Yeah.
Right. But it would be interesting to see how much of that violence during those couple of decades was a result of so much lead exposure to the general populace.
Yeah.
There was a similar thing that happened relatively recently in India. Turmeric is a very common spice that they use over there. And there was for a while, I don't remember exactly what happened. I think there was a shortage of it or something. And they were, a lot of the companies that make it as a product, they were doing some additive stuff, and it turned out one of the additives had a bunch of lead in it, and that there was a bunch of fucking violence occurring in the regions where they were fucking selling this shit.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh shit, we just fucking...
Like, a lot of people don't realize that it's a pretty... It doesn't take very much to get low level lead poisoning.
Yeah.
It really doesn't take a lot. I actually remember being really little, and I want to say it was the early to mid 80s when they talked about replacing, and I'll never understand this, replacing your wall paint with latex. And all I thought was, so is latex magic? I mean, as an adult, I kind of understand it now.
Yeah.
But as a kid, I didn't understand how just painting my room with a different paint would protect me. But latex, of course, as we know, is used in gloves and everything else as a protective barrier. So I'm just like, your house probably has lead paint underneath it somewhere.
Probably. Yeah. Because
that probably leads to your moments of murderous rage.
Yeah, I had those long before I moved into that house.
Just scratch your wall until you hit the... You look at your roommates and be like, I will sniff that fucking lead paint. You watch. I'll sniff it.
Unfortunately, I can't do that in my bedroom because my bedroom was probably made in like the 80s.
Oh, yeah, because it's your top floor's an addition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had to do it like in the bathroom or something.
Right. Wait, but you just had your...
extra disgusting.
Like, wait a minute. You just had your bathroom replaced.
Just the floor.
Just a tip. Gotcha.
In the bathroom. The butt, just like the Navy.
Just the tip in the bathroom. Just a little bit. It's kind of disgusting, but it's all right.
In the bathroom.
You can lick all the lead paint you want. No, I mean, it's really... So that's kind of the fascinating thing about the human life is that I think there is a huge portion of us that have been dumbed down. Like, we're oblivious to so much because we're oblivious to how to do simple, basic things like, I don't know, brush our teeth.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I've told you about some people I think need to, like, jackhammer their teeth. Anyways, I'm trying to be nice here. But we're dumbed down. There's a lot of people who they think that brushing their teeth, it's a dentist scam. I know people. I have met people who think that the dentist, it's just a scam. You don't need to brush your teeth. Wow. And I'm like, when was the last time you brushed your teeth? When my mom made me when I was 8. That's disgusting.
The fuck?
Yeah. Yeah. I know people who cannot stand brushing their teeth. They don't like the way it tastes. They don't like the way it feels. I'm like...
I hate brushing my teeth before I go to sleep because then I wake up with fucking cotton mouth.
Mommy. Hi, Mommy.
Hi, Mommy.
Hi, Mommy. Mommy's the same way. She can't brush her teeth before bed because it fucks with her mouth.
Yeah.
But so my answer to somebody that I knew very intimately for a very short period of time who did not like to brush their teeth, I was like, you could at least get some Listerine and wash your mouth out because then at least it'll kill some of the smell. And I'm telling you, I'm a very tolerant person with very many things and I'm very PC. But there are a couple people I have met as of late. I almost threw up on one of them. And I was telling the person who was there with me, they saw my shoulders shake. And I was like, oh, I need to go do something else. And she was just like, are you okay? I was like, I almost vomited on him. It's that bad. But I think there's so many conspiracy theories out there. Yes. There's so much of that going on. And then there's so much of, people cracking jokes on the internet that people are like, oh, wait, yeah, that's totally a joke thing. You don't need to do that. We are dumbing ourselves down because I know very few people. I probably can count on both my hands, maybe my toes if I'm generous, of people who would know how to build their own structure. For safety. So build their own place it's not called a structure. Shelter. Thank you. That would know how to build a shelter to keep themselves safe. Yeah. That would know how to not manufacture, but wash their own clothes for sanitary purposes or even know how to make their own clothes. Yeah. Like there are these basic life skills they used to teach us in school. And it's just like, I don't know if we just stop doing that because our generation, we're the smallest generation and we have the least amount of kids, or if it's just we got lazy. We're like, fuck them all. We were latchkey kids. Yeah. We drank out of garden hoses. We raced in the middle of the street on our bikes during rush hour traffic, up hills both ways to school. You know, like if we just kind of have done this thing where we're just like, fuck it, I had to learn the hard way, so do you.
Yeah. To be fair to most people out there, we only have so much attention as individuals, and our brains didn't evolve for the sort of situation that we live in now, for the overwhelming majority of the humanity. There's some people that do still live in the situation that we were evolved for.
Right.
But obviously they're a very, very small minority. So because we have so much information coming at us so fast, and because there's so much abundance of options for the average, let's say the average Westerner, that it's very easy to sort of get stuck in an area that you're comfortable with, and then ignore everything else. Especially if you're not like stuck in the loop of the news cycle, let's say, and been captured by that. So you're constantly enraged about stuff that you can't really do anything about.
Yeah, if you're in fight or flight mode all the time, you can't learn anything new.
Yeah.
You literally cannot perceive reality.
Yeah.
This is fact.
Yeah.
You know that I have dealt with somebody recently who was in complete fight or flight mode 24/7.
Yeah.
You can't learn anything new. You can't perceive reality. Everything is just, how am I going to get out of this? You didn't do anything wrong. How am I going to get out of this? You didn't do anything wrong. Oh, you're the enemy then. They get caught in this perpetual cycle. Perpetual is a good word that you used. They get in this perpetual cycle of, what do I have to think, say, or do to get away from any possible? And there's no harm. There's no threat. It's just the perception's there because they can't kick out of that mode. And I think part of it not only is a oxygen deprivation energy. I also think also part of it might be a region where they live is a very high crime region, which I found that out recently, like after the fact.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's like, it breaks my heart that people live like that, because it should not be commonplace that you wake up and the first thing is, oh, I have fear. Cool. That's my best friend. Me and fear, we live together. It's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, people should be able to wake up and have days where something startles them awake. I'm briefly afraid for a moment. What's going on?
Yeah.
Okay. I still have a roof over my head, food in my belly. I'm good. Life's good.
Yeah. Like most other things, fear should be a cyclical event. I'm afraid. Okay. That's past.
Yeah.
Now I have low level fear. Maybe I have anxiety whether or not I'm going to have food for winter. Okay. We solved that issue.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm terrified there's a tiger. Okay. We solved that issue. Carry on up.
Yeah. It's that thing where people get stumped, and I don't necessarily, and what's really funny is I don't necessarily think it's a certain generation.
Yeah.
Or not. I see it with many people of many different generations. I think it's just a percentage of people who it's a learned behavior, I think. And it's scary to me because, like, I read a news article today, speaking of news, talking about a North Carolina couple with 6 children. Okay. Ranging in age from 1 to 15.
Okay. One
of the male children, because they're male and female children.
Okay.
One of the male children, first of all of the kids are emaciated and sick. That's the first thing. Second thing is, none of them know how to read or write. None of them know even how to use a phone. They don't even know how to use a phone.
Are they one of those hillbilly families, or?
Well, they live in a suburb, so I don't know.
So no.
But not only is their child redacted going on and statutory redacted happening with at least one of those children over the last 8 years. So I'm guessing it's the older one.
Yeah.
One of the male children was so underweight, they fit into a small dog crate. And all they do when people try to engage with them to start therapy is start rocking back and forth, hugging themselves and screaming, "You're never getting out. You're never getting out." Every one of the children had to have their teeth removed because they most likely are like caged animals where they're eating their own feces. How we go from being in a society where we can sit here and proudly say, I'm in America and I have all these freedoms, right? And behind closed door, this shit, 15 fucking years, bro.
Yeah.
This is happening to at least one individual for 15 years.
Yeah.
And how we can ignore the signs, because we have literally been trained by the media, by the news outlets. There's no in between, it doesn't seem anymore. It's either you know your neighbors and you check in on them, or it's you completely ignore what they're doing next door.
Yeah.
So it's like, where's our middle ground?
Yeah. I guess that's one of the problems with this sort of downfall of religion.
Yeah.
Is because I'm not a religious person. However, I do see benefits to religious organizations. Yeah. Just like I see fucking serious problems with them. But one of the benefits that they typically did is they were another sort of lever by which people interacted with each other.
Yeah.
Generally in a positive manner.
Yeah.
And so they were another bond that you would share with your neighbors.
Yeah.
And so when you fell on hard times, typically members of your church would help you. Mm-hmm. And if you were a problem, typically members of your church would deal with you.
Yeah. You would have an outlet to go discuss, like, look, what's going on with you, Joseph? Well, my wife Mary's not talking to me, and she doesn't seem to want to be near me anymore, and it's making me you had somebody to kind of go discuss your problems with.
Yeah, without taking a legal ramification, you could get sort of counseling and stuff like that without involving the law and quote unquote officials, right?
Yeah. You had a way to go get guidance, counseling, and therapy generally for free.
Yeah.
And now, like, I literally just saw a commercial the other day. This girl is fighting with herself. You need therapy, girl. I know, but I can't afford it. And it's just like, oh, but you can do it online. It's as cheap as something like equated to $15 or something like that. And I'm like, all I'm thinking is, what kind of therapy are you getting for $15? Because these people who actually are certified counselors and therapists spent thousands, if not, I knew somebody because they're dead now, RIP. I know somebody who spent $100,000 getting their education to get their psychology major with primary function in family and couples counseling. Yeah. They got a double major. She never used it because her answer to all of it, after she did all this schooling, after she was, she was in the Air Force for 20 years, got out, and then went to school. Her answer to the whole thing was, humans are fucked up. They can only change if they're willing to change, and they're only going to listen to reason if they think you're reasonable.
I mean, she's not wrong.
She's not wrong.
Yeah, because, like, that's one of the problems with, like, the drug epidemic is that you can't get an addict to stop. They have to choose to stop. Yeah. And it doesn't matter what your addiction is. It doesn't have to be drugs. Whatever it is, they're only going to stop when they truly decide to stop. Yep.
If it doesn't kill them first, that's for sure.
Yeah. And so it's kind of a fucked up situation where, you might want to help them, but they have to help themselves. Yeah. And like the saying goes, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. It's double with people who have addiction issues. It doesn't matter what legal ramifications you put on them. They're not going to change until they decide.
I literally heard somebody say the other day, well, it wasn't this week, it was like last week, literally heard somebody say over the weekend, oh, maybe it was this Saturday. Either this Saturday or last Saturday. Anyways, somebody had come into the shop and they were trying to shoplift, and it's like, you need to leave because I'm tired of going through this game with you. It's done. You are no trespass. Get off the fucking property, or we're going to have police out for you next time. You know what their response is? You know what she said? Ooh, I hope they catch me. They got better drugs in jail than they do on the streets of redacted anyways. I'm like, wow. Yeah. Wow. And she is a prolific shoplifter. Yeah. Not only is she a prolific shoplifter, she sells her shit on Facebook Marketplace, and her motto is, redacted store is the best, has the best stuff to steal because I can sell it to you for a better price.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, it was funny. I was having a conversation with one of my friends from high school the other day, and we were talking about the main city near here and how it used to be awesome when we were kids. That place was amazing, but now it's kind of a shithole, and it's almost entirely due to the fucking sort of the legal situation and the basically being soft on crime. And I was like, well, they got what they voted for. And she's like, no, they didn't. I'm like, when has this state ever been run by Republicans? Not in my entire lifetime. So you're saying that the Republicans are the fucking reason this is happening?
Well, and I think people would argue back politically. People would argue back that, oh, but there's been some, no, not there's, you got to have balanced leadership, which we have none of.
Yeah.
Most of our issues in this state now, although I do believe in safe harbor for those who truly need it.
Yeah.
There was a governor that we had in the 70s who declared, my, Washington State's the state you want to come to. Come on. Yeah. We'll take care of you. Because she thought by having more populace in our state, we would get more voting rights. We would get more from the federal government. You know, the federal government went, are you fucking nuts? We can't support 1 million new people in your state.
Yeah.
And it's just perpetuated that thing. I cannot express enough how much I hope anybody who listens, we have serious days. We have not, mostly we're not serious because life sucks too much sometimes, right? But when we have serious days and we talk about these important things, I hope they truly understand. Do a little research for yourself. You need to know some basic stuff. You need to know how to feed yourself. You need to know how to sanitize yourself. You need to know how to keep your life around you sanitary. And you know what? It's even living on the streets. There are places out there where you can get help. You just have to be able and willing to work for it.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, you can give a man a fish or you can teach a man to fish.
Yeah.
I would rather teach you how to fish, even if it's struggling and it's hard and you don't get to eat every day, than give you a fish one time and see what happens.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people don't understand that analogy.
Yeah.
You see confused faces when you're like, it's like even the lead a horse to water.
Yeah. Like what?
A few weeks ago, one of my co-managers looked at a individual and said, you can lead a horse to water, right? You know what that means, right? To wash it? Shut the front door, Alice. It's so crazy the way our world is working right now because we are making all these different strides. But why haven't we made all these different strides for, all we're doing with these strides is going, oh, well, we know this gene does that and this gene does this. So we'll make this drug for this and this drug for that. Why aren't we doing a hormone therapy that's like, remember that whole big thing they did for a while where you eat somebody else's poop and it gives you better gut bacteria? It's not poop. It's the bacteria from their gut.
Yeah.
Sorry, they extract it from the poo.
Yeah, because there's certain bacteria that has been shown to be extremely healthy for you if it's in your lower intestine. And so they were taking healthy college students that had this particular type of bacteria. This was in Canada. I don't know if they ever started doing it in the United States. They started
doing it in the U.S.
But they were taking their poop and basically harvesting. And so at a certain point, once you have a certain sample size of it, you shouldn't have to harvest it from poop. You should be able to grow it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's the way it was described is they were harvesting it from the poop, but I'm sure what happened is they probably did it once and then fucking put it in petri dishes and grew it.
I believe they wanted multiple candidates to see who had the best gut bacteria and how can we replicate that. Yeah. And I understand that, but what's interesting is that somebody said recently, why don't they just go back to doing the whole poop thing? They have a way where you can consume somebody else's, gut bacteria and it'll make your gut bacteria healthy versus all these other drugs for like all the drug commercials drive my partner nuts.
Yeah.
And I understand how he feels about that.
Mm-hmm.
But there are some things that you cannot naturally replicate, like testosterone. You can't. I mean, there are ways to boost it, but not not in the same levels where most men start losing it after 40.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, there's lots of things you can do to boost it, but all the stuff we know now, all the stuff that all these Gen X scientists have figured out about, like, you should really get your blood test in your 20s if you're a man. So you know your testosterone levels so that you can get it checked every 10 years to see where you're at. Hopefully somebody's doing it.
Yeah, I mean, so there's stuff like, there's third-party companies out there that will do stuff like testing your poop to see all kinds of different stuff.
Yeah.
Because there's more than just the bacteria. There's a bunch of other things that are in there that can be early warning signs or whatever. And then there's like third party like blood testing that tests for stuff that your doctor typically doesn't look for unless it's a actual symptom of something. They're usually not looking for it. But if you get it early enough, like way before your doctor is typically going to look for it, you can massively improve your outcomes. Like the saying is, ounce of cure today or whatever, ounce of prevention today is worth a pound of cure tomorrow.
Yep.
The problem is most people aren't interested in looking at stuff that isn't a problem right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even I'm a fucking
procrastinator when it comes to that.
Yeah. Like there's a number of things that I should probably go and have looked at through the VA that I've just not done yet because I've already got a fucking bunch of other things going on.
Yeah. See, now I've never taken it as you being lazy. I've just taken it as I've already got, my plate is 3/4 of the way full.
Yeah.
I need to leave that quarter space to be able to shove those peas to the side so I can worry about getting to the potatoes. You know what I mean? Like, I've never looked at it. You're late. You have been lazy in the past about some things. We all have.
Yeah.
But when it comes to your health, I feel like you've been really diligent about it. And it's just right now you need to finish dealing with the processes as you're going.
Yeah. And then, like, when I was in the military, one of the biggest problems with the military is culture.
Yeah.
And one of the cultural things that goes on in the military, at least when I was in, I assume it's still kind of this way. It's probably not as bad as it was before, but and it was way worse before I was in, is that if you complain about something like a medical issue, you're like, oh, you're a pussy, fucking suck it up, drive on.
Yep. Suck it up and keep going.
And so between that and your sort of camaraderie where you don't want to let down your team, your squad, your platoon, your company, whatever, by being the dude who's in sick hall when you should be out there working.
Yeah, so you've pretty much learned that no matter what it is, just suck it up and keep moving, buttercup.
Yeah. And so there were a number of things that I probably should have had addressed back then that I didn't because it was, okay, this isn't actually that much of a problem, so I'll just fucking deal with it.
Right.
Until it becomes a fucking problem.
Yeah.
So,
you know, and that's where we've got to kind of change and balance this culture because moving the military, I can tell you it's literally 50-50.
Yeah.
And it probably is actually a third. You have a third of the people, they just don't give a shit about anything. I'll deal with it when I'm dead. Okay, that's the right attitude to have.
Yeah.
You got a third of them that are like, I don't want anybody thinking I'm a pussy because my foot hurts and I've been limping for 3 months.
Yeah.
Then you have the other third, they're like the biggest set of hypochondriacs I've ever seen.
I have a hangnail. Oh, I have.
Yeah. No, my favorite one was the lady service member who came to the door and was just like full double face mask, glasses, hair pulled back. I was just like, what the fuck is going on? I'm like, does somebody here have the vid? I don't know. I woke up this morning, first day of spring, and my nose was running. And I thought, oh my God, I have an appointment at 2. So my husband's here. My husband's going to take care of everything. But yeah, so I'm going to stay in the garage while you guys do allergies. Because we were there for a whole week moving her. Allergies. You have that. It's just that panic culture of And it was just like, and her husband, God bless him, was just like, she's a hypochondriac. And she panics about everything because that's how she got attention from her mom when she was a kid. Because her mom was also a service member. So we just need to change the culture and balance it. When is it important to go in and when, but
yeah,
it is a little bit scary, because we are moving towards a cybernetic future that I don't think anybody's ready for yet.
I'm ready to be uploaded.
I don't want to be uploaded, but I would like Elysium where you get in the machine and it fixes everything.
Yeah.
That'd be fucking lovely.
Yeah.
Just leave all my scars, because I actually like my scars because they tell stories about me.
I want to add extra scars.
Right. I want to be Bruce Willis tough.
I want one of those scars that cut down my eye, but not my eyeball. Just like over the.
Oh, so you want a scar, but with your eye.
Yeah. Keep my eye, but have a scar going through my eyebrow onto my cheek.
But keep your eye.
Yes,
so like Nick
Fury,
but furry.
Yes. Nick Fury, not furry.
Well, I mean, Sam Jackson looks like he could be furry. Anyways. Yeah. That's a lot of food for thought for them.
Indeed.
Awesome. You guys have a great day.
Later.
Even I'm terrified of the future now. I mean, I've always been terrified of the future, but like, I'm kind of like going, oh, crap. Okay, everybody. That's all the time we have for today. So I want to thank you for stopping by to enjoy the conversation. We're glad you're here, and please share and share again and share some more. And if you haven't already, subscribe. We'll be having another chat and another cup soon. We'll talk to you then. Look forward to seeing you.